After 2 great episodes, the final battle continues in what's another notable DBZ entry, 281, for as much as it's a Seigasha episode, which is quite a rarity in the Buu arc. After 231, featuring Goku fighting Vegeta in his period, we don't get another Seigasha entry before 268, whose lapse definitely coincides with the release of the final Z movies, filled with plenty of segments animated by Sega people. At least the 3 main Sega tenors, since Tomikichi Takeuchi, Yokozuka and Megumi Yamashita appeared in non-Sega episodes too, often working with Carpenter, K-Production and even Cockpit once. Nevertheless, without those 3, you can't arrange any party whatsoever, but fortunately they are all back at their prime, in their second to last episode before the end of Z. It also happens to be directed by Yoshihiro Ueda, just like in the first DBZ Seigasha episode, which sounds like the perfect pick for such an instance. In fairness, I would have liked to dissect a Ueda material prior to his departure in December 2022, but hey, I guess it's better now than ever. Events start off with a bang, as Kazuya Isada animates a very refined prologue, with Buu firing a massive Kamehameha, and we do realize what the middle segment of the Buu arc missed so much. Exaggeration, finesse and impact. By now Isada is such a master of hyperbolic Kamehamehas, as he displays plenty of his relief impact frames and his trademark pineapple tuft once Buu lands a critical hit. Combined with Ueda's superb pigmentation, ranging from green, blue and yellow hues, which totally gives the idea of a powerful move, this is already a masterful beginning. And Vegeta is unharmed again, like in 279, as if the last episode never occurred. I'm going to let this slide for now. Anyway, as for Isada's character art, the 2.0 period is his most compelling by a landslide, as his features don't look as overweight as in the artificial human arc, yet it's such a pity supervision is eventually going to decline again in GT. I don't really like his corrections there. While I normally prefer Shimanuki as a Sega visor, Isada's talent remains undisputable, especially when it comes to snappy and over-animated action. I honestly never found that problematic, quite the contrary, it's actually what makes him so capable. I'd always take over-the-top motion over subpar and robust scenes because that's the thrill of animation. The action continues with another tenor, Naoki Tate, who handles a wide exchange of blows. While this Tate is way more linear and more derivative than his current self, this is another great scene, as Ueda actually decides to frame each single hit instead of giving it another sequence shot, which would sound like a trivial idea in general, but not with the likes of Tate in these thorough battle poses. This is limited action done correctly. When you don't have an elaborate choreography, just make it more stylish or add some smeary impact frames within. Once Buu throws Goku against a mountain, we do get a seamless transition from Tate to Shimanuki, another Seiga tenor, as Goku counterattacks with energy blasts engulfing the area with yellow hues, which Buu eventually deflects despite his initial struggle, thanks to Shimanuki's distinctive shaking limbs. Animation-wise, he always demonstrated some issues due to his pretty stiff and robust poses, but could at least conceal them with his visual effects, and with an acceptable amount of keyframes, unlike in his modern days. His character art looks as great as ever, his health fears and debris are so him, and once again he wraps up one hell of a segment upon Isada and Tate's contribution. Nonetheless, much like the huge gap between the two halves of 268, the dip in quality with Yokozuka's section is indeed felt, as her key animation is quite rigid once Buu drags Goku underground. Isada partially redraws her art, mostly on Buu and close-ups, and overall his corrections look pleasing enough, as much as the underlying damp Ueda uses to convey tension. Yet what isn't very pleasing is Takiuchi's following segment, in which each blow is split again into several frames like in Tate's scene, but resulting in a far weaker performance, since his poses look rather conventional and movements don't have so much depth. To his credit though, his work comes across as not as awfully distracting as in the previous arcs, thanks to Isada's corrections, but feels subpar compared to the otherwise solid first segment. Once Goku Kamehamehas Buu, both emerge and Vegeta offers to take his place in order to let him gather sufficient ki for his Super Saiyan scam. It's of course animated by Megumi Yamashita, who handles this canon part quite well. It definitely looks more pleasing than Toriyama's depiction. Her character art pops up uncorrected, maybe only her jaws got redrawn from scratch, but again, it's a side execution, assuming that it's a dialogue scene and it's not that animated, apart from Buu teasing the two Saiyans. After the commercial break, their dialogue continues, with Goku warning Vegeta that Buu might vaporize him completely, but there is no other choice as the enemy stands there mocking the two, yet he doesn't care because Saiyan pride blah blah blah. So the showdown resumes with him turning Super Saiyan 2 and firing Vegeta's technique at Buu. You can tell Isada tried hard to strengthen Takiuchi's performance, mostly redrawing his Vegeta, but actually succeeded as the scene is quite good. Curious how Takiuchi's smoke features the same shading as his countenance, but still looks nice. Ueda's direction is an absolute protagonist, as he decides to make his energy barrage so effective to envelop the whole scenery in blue hues, but to no avail, since Buu dodges with ease and attacks Vegeta over his head, resulting in the most Takiuchi-esque bit of the episode, with his uncorrected art, multiple impact frames and rudimentary action lines appearing for a second. Also notice how his battle damage actually changes from an animator to another, as Tate steps in during Buu's brutal beatdown on Vegeta, kicking and headbutting him away in more than an occasion. Even though movements are more linear in this era, the way he provides profile shots totally resembles his modern days, as well as his upwards nose stroke and chubby hands. By now, deducing when he's corrected or not is pretty evident, as Isada redraws his chin and mouth in a few still shots, but this doesn't possibly invalidate the quality of his performance much, as Vegeta's dissected counterattack is quickly overpowered by Buu's superiority, displaying some truly outstanding dynamic poses, easily the highlight of this Tate. Coming next, the Shinjin Izuka tackles Vegeta's struggle, with Buu dodging his greenish Big Bang attack very easily and proceeding to humiliate the Super Saiyan even more. Such humiliation can only be portrayed with raw power, a perfect occasion for Shimanuki's looped shaking to shine once more. He may not be the most creative Seiga animator, but is certainly the most skilled Seiga artist. Such terrific depictions of both Vegeta and Buu, albeit with very few potato heads slipping occasionally. That's Shimanuki at his best, even when he handles Buu celebrating like he scored a goal and lets Vegeta strike his classic wounded pose. Although the filler detail of him emerging from a crater looks reminiscent of the flashback in episode 129, which Ueda directed as well, so what if it's a subtle Easter egg? Nevertheless, after Goku starts realizing Super Saiyan 3 is a fraud, Isada gets to finish his own episode by animating their power struggle and Buu's stretched choking maneuver on Vegeta, which happens to be a solid way to end the weekly events. Isada's standpoint is sufficient to make limited animation more notable than it actually should, his art looks great and the music placement is just flawless. What an episode, as enjoyable as the previous pairing, which wouldn't sound like a massive surprise given the competent staff list, but still represents the canon events with charm and finesse. Seigasha don't need guest stars to perform, and Ueda remains a creative director. However, this is where the Godsend Raw meets its epilogue, as the following episodes are supervised by Studio Live and Last House, but I don't care. I'll simply skip those two and move on regardless, because there is nothing important to discuss. In any case, please support my channel to spread this once and for all. Cartoons are not for kids. Cartoon service means to pay adults' bills. Think about it. Piss off, 2023 Velma.